What's up everyone, Brad here, and in this video I'll be going over the settings I use for the 85-inch Vizio P-Series Quantum X TV. Let's get started. So before I dive in, if you're into home theater and gaming like I am, consider subscribing and hitting that bell icon so you never miss out when I post a new video. Also, please consider checking out the affiliate links in the description below. Even if you click on one and buy something else, I do still get a small commission, and this really helps out the channel. Now, there are a few things I want to mention before I start going over the settings I use. These settings will be aiming for an accurate picture, not one that has really insane pop or is super saturated. Whatever the movie, TV show, or video game is intended to look like is what the goal is here with these picture settings. Also, I won't be diving into the advanced picture settings for grayscale or color calibration, as I don't currently have a colorimeter to do this type of calibration. Plus, those particular settings can vary wildly from set to set and aren't recommended to be used on a different set anyway. And finally, the settings in this video will be for the 85-inch P-Series Quantum X, but should be fine for use on the 75 and 65-inch versions. Now let's dive in and go over the settings I use for the best picture. Alright, so I'm using the Apple 4K TV for this video, and the main reason I'm doing that is because I can switch between standard dynamic range, HDR10, and Dolby Vision really quickly. So just to run through how I have this set up, formats under 4K SDR, HDMI output doesn't really matter, but I'm using YCBCR, and chroma is set to 444 in the Apple TV. This will be important in just a moment. So let's go ahead and pop open the picture menu of the TV here. And by default, your set may ship with something like vivid or bright selected. My recommendation is start with calibrated dark. So if we go down right off the bat, I want to drop this backlight from 30 to 18. Now between 15 and 20 is probably where I'd recommend you start. If you need a little more brightness, go ahead and bump it up. It's fine, but don't bump it up just yet. Wait until you get to the end, because we're going to adjust a setting that's going to affect that. So we'll go down to brightness and contrast. We're going to leave these at 50. I verified this using the Spears and Munsell HD benchmark disc. Setting brightness lower than 50 results in crushing black levels, and then setting contrast anything higher than 50 will result in crushing the white levels. So 50 on both of these is right where you want to be. Same with color. You want to leave this at 50, otherwise you're going to be boosting saturation too much, and tint right at 0 as well. So for sharpness, all the way to 0. Now, here's the thing though, if you don't have access to this, it's because whenever you feed the set a 444 chroma signal, it blocks certain settings out. So I'll show you what I'm talking about real quick. I'll go to input picture settings, turn full color 444 on, and you'll notice, grayed out. I can't adjust anything. If I go into advanced picture, I can't adjust anything on the top here at all, and I can't activate film mode whatsoever. A couple ways around that. You'll notice I had it deselected or turned off in the input picture settings menu. That will allow you to adjust sharpness. That will allow you to go in and also adjust all these settings minus super resolution, because this is a 4K signal. That's one way to do it. Another way is to go into your device, and if it allows you, switch it over to 422. For some reason, it locks you out. I don't know why. I think it's a bug that needs to be addressed by Vizio. But for now, I'm gonna leave this disabled. So if you keep trucking along here, color temperature, you want it set to warm. If you're used to normal or cool, then warm's gonna be a little bit yellow, maybe a little bit red to you, but give your eyes 2 or 3 days to adjust to it, and you'll notice that the picture is actually a lot more natural looking. And that's because this gets us much closer to 6,500 degrees Kelvin. It just means that all content that you watch outside of maybe YouTube videos, but like video games and movies and stuff, are all mastered and made with that middle gray of 6,500 degrees Kelvin. So that's exactly what you want for an accurate picture. Picture aspect, can't really do anything with grayed out here. Again, we're sending it a 4K 60 signal, so we can't adjust that there. If we select advanced picture, black detail we want set to off, edge enhancement turned off, local contrast off. All of these you want off. Local contrast can be enabled, but I've noticed anything other than off results in some backlight flickering that's pretty severe in some cases, so I recommend leaving that off for now until Vizio fixes that. For active full array, which is the set's local dimming, you want to set this to medium. Now you'll notice that things brighten up. Remember I said don't adjust the backlight before? This is because this is going to brighten things up for you. Now if you need some extra brightness, you can go back in, and bring that backlight right back up if you want to. You know, play around. You're not really gonna mess up the picture quality by adjusting the backlight. For motion control, this is gonna default to 0. I recommend setting these to 1 for jutter reduction and 1 for motion blur reduction. Anything higher than 1 here will result in some weird artifacting, and I've noticed it in quite a few movies. And bringing both of these down to 1, you can even leave motion blur reduction off completely if you want to, but both of these, you want these set to 1. Reduce noise, you want all these turned off. Again, these are actually going to affect your picture negatively. Now you can turn these on if you want to, but for sake of accuracy, you want them turned off. If we go down to Pro Gaming Engine, you can leave game low latency on auto. You can also turn it off. Doesn't really matter. It will matter when we go to set up the game profile. So for variable refresh rate, here you can either have this on or off, but this is tied to enhanced viewing angle for some reason. Now the enhanced viewing angle, if you can read the little description on the bottom, but basically it attempts to increase the viewing angle with richer colors and higher contrast image, but it does reduce the horizontal resolution, and we don't want that. So turn that off. Problem is, if we were to change this variable refresh rate setting, so off, you'll notice I turned it off, now it's back on. What the heck's going on? For some reason, there's a bug within the firmware right now that variable refresh rate needs to be set to off or on across every single picture mode. Doesn't matter which one, it just needs to be the same. So depending on what you want, if you want to leave it on, that's fine. You'd have to go in and make sure that every single picture mode has the same variable refresh rate setting. So for me, I'm just going to leave this set to off. And then for the other modes here, film mode, we can leave that on. Gamma 2.2. Then what I'd recommend doing is going to picture mode edit, save picture mode, and then label it whatever you want. That way you can always come back to this, and you can always use calibrated dark as a good starting point. So here I'm just gonna label it custom 2, and I'll hit save. So now you'll notice when we go back here, I have custom, these are the 2 that I've already saved beforehand, and then custom 2. So now what we want to do is we want to make sure we're in custom 2. We'll go into the Apple TV or whatever device you have, and we'll put it on HDR10, because we're going to need to change a few things here as well when it switches over to HDR10. So you notice right off the bat that backlight is changed to tone mapping. It's basically the same thing. For HDR content, you don't want to touch this at all, leave it at 50. Same with brightness, contrast, color. Even though it's at 55, leave it at default. Pretty much everything here we want to leave at default except for a couple of settings. One being sharpness, we want to turn that all the way back down to 0 like we did before. Color temperature, we'll leave it warm. Advanced picture, again, we want to come in here, make sure edge enhancement and local contrast are turned off. Active full array is set to medium. This, we want to leave that there. Motion control, again, we're going to set this to 1 and 1. Reduce noise, again, we want all of these off. We don't want the set doing anything. Pro Gaming Engine, again, you want to make sure that variable refresh rate is off or on all picture modes, depending on which one you choose. So for me, it was on. We want to make sure that's off. Film mode on, gamma 2.2, and enhanced viewing angle is turned off. And that's pretty much it for HDR. So now every time you're on this picture mode and you switch to HDR10 content, it will automatically apply these picture settings and switch to it. So if we go back to SDR, you'll notice that we're back to where we need to be. We will verify everything is good. Motion control 1 to 1. Reduce noise, all of this is off. Pro Gaming Engine, all off, and enhanced viewing angle is turned off. So now if we switch to HDR, everything should default to how we set it up there too. So sharpness is at 0, advanced picture, medium, motion control 1 to 1, reduce noise, all that stuff's off. Pro Gaming Engine, off, everything off. We are good to go there. So now let's go ahead and do the final one and switch to Dolby Vision, and we'll make sure everything is set up properly there. So if we go back into the picture mode, again, everything left at default, bring that down to 0 for sharpness, color temperature warm, picture aspect normal, advanced picture, again, edge enhancement off, local contrast, it cannot be enabled on Dolby Vision content, active full array, medium, motion control, 1 and 1. We want to leave clear action off for this, reduce noise, everything off here, and Pro Gaming Engine, everything off, and we'll make sure enhanced viewing angle is disabled as well. So that's pretty much it for setting up Dolby Vision, HDR10, and SDR picture modes. Now let's go ahead and set up our picture modes for gaming. All right, so for gaming, again, I'm just gonna use the Apple TV, but this will apply if you're using a PlayStation or Xbox, whatever. So again, we'll start with calibrated dark. You think you want to start with game, but trust me on this, you don't. Calibrated dark will get you a much more accurate picture. So select that. We're going to go back in. Now for gaming, I like to have my backlight set up a little higher, so I always put it at 35. Again, personal taste here. Leave it on whatever you want. Brightness, contrast, color, tint, we want to all leave those at default. default. Again, this is based off of using that Spears and Munsell disc. Sharpness, again, we're going to turn down to 0. Color temperature warm, picture aspect normal. We're going to advanced picture, and here we just want to make sure, again, edge enhancement's off, local contrast is off, active full array, we're set to medium again. Motion control, we don't want to set anything here because we're going to go into Pro Gaming Engine in a moment. Again, we'll make sure all the reduced noise options are turned off, and Pro Gaming Engine, we will set this to on, not auto, but on. Forcing it on, make sure we get the lowest input lag possible. For variable refresh rate, again, set this on or off depending on how you have it set up across all other picture modes. For me, I'll set it to off. Under gamma, 2.2. Film mode we don't worry about because we turn game mode on, and then enhanced viewing angle, we want to turn that off. Go back in, go back all the way down. I'll name this picture mode Custom Game 2. Or whatever you want. I already had a custom game, so I labeled it something different. So now every time we switch to this picture mode, we'll automatically have the lowest input lag. But we also want to make sure we go in and set it up properly for HDR as well. We'll switch to HDR mode. And again, we'll just change a couple things. Everything left to default except sharpness, all the way down to 0. Advanced picture, edge enhancement low, local contrast we can't do anything about. It's not activated anyway because it's grayed out. Motion control, nothing. Reduced noise, all of that stuff is off. Pro Gaming Engine already turned on, and we'll make sure that enhanced viewing angle is turned off. And that means you are good to go there for HDR 10. Now, if we go to switch to Dolby Vision to set up that picture mode, this will be the final one and we'll be done. Again, we don't want to touch anything here other than sharpness. We'll turn that all the way down. Everything else left at default. Advanced picture, again, edge enhancement turned off. Active full array on medium. Motion control, don't need to worry about it. Reduce noise, everything turned off. And then Pro Gaming Engine, make sure that variable refresh rate is turned off, and we don't have access to game low latency. And then finally, we'll turn off enhanced viewing angle. So now, basically any type of dynamic range we send the TV from SDR, HDR to Dolby Vision will all trigger the proper picture mode. And that's pretty much it. Your set is now set up for the most optimum picture quality possible. Now, if you found this video helpful, giving it a like would be much appreciated. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the comment section. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.